Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Daisy Rowan from SpringPod. Thanks to SRAG and People Plus for having us today. We're going to explore today the readiness gap, what it really is, why it matters, and most importantly, what we can do about it. So less emphasis throughout the presentation, you'll be happy to know, on SpringPod's actual products and offerings, and more about what we're trying to do and solve. I will just give you a bit of context of what we do. So at SpringPod, we exist to give students career education that actually means something. So content that's immersive, outcome focused and equitable. And what this means in reality, and like how we actually do this, is through virtual work experiences, subject spotlights, and our newest track in development, career readiness content. You'll see why this matters later, but just a few vital stats to help contextualize who we work with and what we do. Over 1 million students, over 1 million enrollments in SpringPod students, over 1 million enrollments in SpringPod's virtual work experience programs. Since we've been doing this, we've got a 45% increase in career confidence and 59% increase in job readiness. And we've also generated 98 million in social value. A few of our vital stats, because it's not just kind of what we offer and these impacts, but it's who we reach that really makes a difference. So we've got, these are just stats from 2024 alone. We saw 168,000 new student signups, 248,000 enrollments and 1.18 million learning hours. We issued 75,000 certificates, and I put a breakdown of some of the learners that we reach just there for you to have a peruse at, but our impact isn't sort of just limited to the engaged. We have a really diverse group of young people and students engaging with our content every day. A little bit more about us. So we at SpringPod, we're a small but we're a mighty team, almost 50 podders, working with schools, employers, education providers. We're doing it to provide universal access to career education experiences for every young person. So on the call today, I actually have a few of my team that work alongside those people from the picture there. So I'm Daisy, as I mentioned. I lead the marketing team at SpringPod. I'm super close to our students and our student marketing team, who make sure that students get access to all our fantastic programs. We've also got Jo here, Jo Bishop, who's our education outreach lead. She's our core artery, connecting with SpringPod with schools, career professionals, and of course our lovely students. I've also got Kurt here, who's our head of product. You'll be hearing from him later, making all our programs come to life. And we've got Jack Kite, who works in our partnerships team with all our amazing partners. Many of you also, I put his face on here. You might know John Mallett. I know he's been in the community for a while. He's actually on a lovely sunny Easter holiday at the moment, so we won't hate him too much. But I wanted to just put his face in so that if you knew him, he's part of the SpringPod tribe. Jack has kindly joined us today. In case anyone has any follow-up questions from a partner perspective, he can help on the call today, or of course afterwards. So I did want to kick off. I wanted to do some polls today, but we haven't managed to work that functionality out. So I'm going to ask some questions throughout. I can't actually see the answers, so do it or don't. It's completely up to you. But it's just to keep everyone warm, really. So I wanted to ask, sort of get a feel for who's in the room, so everyone kind of gets to know each other a little bit, and also so that the team that are answering your questions can make sure that if you have any questions in the chat, they can answer it with the right context. So love to get a feel for what like how you would describe your current role or your area of focus. So is it social value, talent, early careers, educational outreach, inclusion, I guess all of the above or none of the above, and just open answer. We don't have that poll functionality, so feel free to just drop it in the chat, and as I cannot see it, I'll assume it's been done. And I'll jump into the content. I shall not keep you waiting any longer. So today I'm going to be sharing findings that go beyond education and careers as a whole. What we're really looking at today is about social equity, inclusion, and real-world action. So we've recently conducted in-depth research spanning a few different topics. So we've got 3 reports coming out soon, but they all have one aim in mind, and that's to understand how young people are navigating the future of work, how they're feeling, what they need, how we can support, and getting that first-hand feedback from them. So this presentation includes finding from our Gen Z career survey, almost 2,000 students responded. Our social return on investment report and our strategic report, which tackles those two outcomes and how we can bridge the readiness gap and empower Gen Z plus. You'll see Gen Alpha snuck its way into that title, but they are coming up. So how we can bridge the readiness gap to empower them with their career journeys in the future. So let's jump in to some data in a second. But first of all, a definition. So what is readiness, or what do we mean by readiness? So career readiness is quite often referred to or just reduced to as job ready skills, I guess. But it is deeper than that. It's about three core things. So confidence, clarity, and opportunity. And when any one of those is missing, the gap grows. So the readiness gap is the space between a young person's ambition and their access, and that's access to advice, role models, opportunities, networks, and encouragement. And what we're seeing more is that post-COVID, as well as in the middle of a cost of living crisis, this gap has widened. Many students are being told to dream big, but they're doing so without any structure or guidance or the resources to get started. Many reasons for it, which we'll dive into. But just to add some numbers to that picture, by 15, 3 out of 4 young people are already thinking seriously about their future. So that's not just early intervention and early thoughts, that's urgent. In terms of our data, what it shows, like despite them thinking about it so early on, our data is showing that only 69% of those students are receiving career advice. Sorry, they're only receiving career advice 3 times a year or less. In many of the cases as well, when we looked at sort of the qualitative research, the open text fields in these surveys, it was described as brief and broad advice rather than tailored support, which obviously is difficult to scale. But this is where the collaboration between us and early career education becomes essential. So it's not just about the skills, as we mentioned before, it's about visibility, confidence, and practical support. And yeah, as you can see the quote on the screen there, young people today are facing that triple threat of uncertainty, inequality, and invisibility, which is not giving them readiness. One thing that we did find as well in our survey is that for under-resourced students, so that's those that have in the past or are currently receiving free school meals, young carers, or those with mental health needs or neurodivergence, the gap is even wider. So they're not just falling behind, they're falling behind faster than their peers. So if we look at who are the young people that are falling through the cracks, so as we've mentioned, career education in school can be limited. When we look deeper, we kind of find the scale of the problem is even bigger than originally sort of posed to us. So our research shows that over 8% of the students that we surveyed receive absolutely no careers advice at all. So that's not just limited support; it's a complete absence of structured guidance for these young people. And for 69% of students, thinking about their future career is a source of stress. Now, this is the second year we've done this survey, and this is unchanged from a stress perspective. So it seems to be an ongoing theme that isn't alleviating with the measures that have been put in place so far. So it's definitely something to consider. And then also when we think about those under-resourced groups, we see that it rises significantly, this source of stress. 73% of our female respondents said it was a source of stress for them. 71% of young carers and 74% of neurodivergent students. And these are the groups that consistently receive less tailored support. So that's not like small anxiety that's coming through here. This is like systemic pressure. So just to take this even further, I guess, add a bit more colour to it, hopefully, with an example. If we take students that are, as I mentioned before, either previously received or currently on free school meals as an example how this gap can emerge. 1 in 3 of the students we surveyed who receive free school meals are thinking seriously about their career by age 13, which is actually, there was quite a few other people in there. So by age 13, that's 1 in 3 of free school meal students, compared to 25% of their non-free school meal peers. And 13 is actually their Gen Alpha now, which is why Gen Alpha has made its way into the title. You might have caught that at the beginning. So this is young. And when you compare it to those that aren't under-resourced, they're significantly less likely. They're significantly bigger proportion of people considering it at an earlier age. And then yet, despite thinking about it earlier, 38% of those free school meal students felt that they had someone reliable to talk about their career with. So a huge proportion of those that are thinking about it have no one to discuss this with. And in comparison, 56% of their non-free school meal peers did feel like they had someone to talk about careers. So this is a clear sign that we need to start earlier. We need to listen better, and we need to build support systems that reflect the real lives of young people, especially those that are often overlooked as well. Again, this was a place that I was going to add in another poll, but we don't have the poll function. But I am very keen to get this feedback from you guys in terms of barriers. So maybe just in the chat, I guess in your view, what's the most significant barrier standing in the way of young people being career ready? What does people think? So it could be, is it the access to guidance? Is it inequity in opportunities? Is it confidence, lack of confidence, no visible role models? Like, these are all things that have been referenced by students, but just wondering what the audience thinks is the sort of like biggest significant barrier for young people. And while that's percolating, we'll just move on quickly, because I did want to be super clear about the system. So the education system is not ignoring career readiness. There's real structure in place. One example is the Gatsby benchmarks, which lay out what good careers education should look like. They're widely used across schools and colleges. Joe in my team is the expert on this, and any questions specifically on here, Joe's in the chat ready to answer. But I guess the point of this is that delivering them all 8 of them consistently is tough, and especially that's when schools are under pressure with super stretched budgets, rising mental health needs of students, and then a curriculum that's already overloaded. It becomes a problem. And from feedback from schools, as well as the Careers and Enterprise report from 2023, I think it was, we found that a few in particular of these benchmarks are more challenging for schools to meet than others. So benchmark 3, so that's that tailored personal support, only 54% of schools achieved that benchmark. Benchmark 7, which is further education and higher education encounters, only 52% of schools achieved it. And then benchmark 5, employer encounters, it's actually had quite a good achievement figure, it's 75%. But one of the bits of qualitative feedback that was given is that there's a huge consistency challenge. So while the encounters are there, the level of depth and quality of them massively changed, even student to student, not just school to school. So definitely challenges that are happening in school, even when we've got best laid plans with frameworks to support. So it's an example as to why external supports matter. So Movement to Work, it's a charity that SpringPod work with and support. These are just one example of, they've supported over 150,000 young people through employer-led experiences. You've got the Career and Enterprise company, which making meaningful connections between schools and young businesses, and Department for Education. We actually work with the Department for Education, and their Skills for Life programme is doing great things to help raise the profile of programmes like apprenticeships, T-levels, skills boot camps, and I guess other government funded programmes. And then the CDI as well. As I've mentioned previously, the mounting pressure on schools is compounded by a resourcing crisis. So career professionals entering the industry is a growing problem. And so the work that the CDI is doing to raise the profile of this amazingly important work is also supporting bridging the gap. But definitely it's that crisis of the availability of those professionals, which is a huge problem.
So Daisy, sorry, just to interject really quickly. So I've managed to freestyle a poll. So I've put up the poll on there. Okay. So 79% of the audience, of our audience, had bad experience with career support at school. Probably a wide range of ages. I'm going to show my age. My career experience was terrible, absolutely terrible. I got told I could be a bricklayer. Nothing wrong with being a bricklayer, but I didn't want to be a bricklayer. But that was my kind of career advice at school. It felt like 10 minutes in the back room at school. That was the best I received. So yeah, if you do want a poll, just let me know and I will pop them on, so I can populate them now.
And we've got that confidence now. I love it. Yeah, and we hear that story quite a lot, Craig. It's definitely, you're not alone there in that anecdote. So yeah. But yeah, so even with all these systems in place and the good work that's happening here, employers still play one of the most critical roles in unlocking opportunities for students who aren't getting what they need in the classroom for various different reasons. But yeah, so let's explore. So, excuse me. So all that we've kind of learned so far, I guess one of the biggest myths about career readiness is that it could potentially be a later years problem, something that you can fix in year 12 or 13, or a lot of assumptions come that that's when young people start making decisions. Our data is actually showing the opposite, meaning that I guess the earlier intervention, the better the outcomes. So for many students, especially in under-resourced communities, support is either coming too late or not at all. So then they don't have access to that structured support, they don't have visible role models, and they don't have guidance on real sort of available pathways. We found that nearly half, so 47% of students on free school meals or have received them in the past, said that they didn't have a role model in a career that they admired. That's a huge indicator of the confidence and visibility gap. And without that structured support, relatable examples, or clear guidance on the pathways, it's not just about readiness anymore. It becomes a mobility gap. So where and who you know, what you've seen and where you started continues to shape where you end up. But if we take a step back for a second and we think about intention to intervention. So schools are doing the best that they can, but the demand for guidance is growing faster than their capacity to deliver it. And also the needs are changing so rapidly that it's another bit of resource that they need to develop in order to keep up with it. So we've already seen that 8.3% of students get no careers advice at all. And among those who do get it, it's often lacking of personalization or the consistency that they need. So when we start to look at how we can move from understanding the problem to fixing it, we can see what students need is more than just the access to information. So students need relevance, structure, and the scaffolding to actually build that confidence and visibility. It's just as vital as knowledge. And in order to connect the dots of the confidence, clarity, and opportunity that builds up readiness, it's important. And we know that employers and technology can fill that gap. So if we look at tech as a bridge, so innovation in action, we're already seeing what's possible when technology is used with purpose. So across the board, from AI to gamification, content accessibility, we're seeing loads of tools that generally improve visibility, clarity, and support. I've got a few examples at what's actually working. There are already some incredible tools on the market being used across education and employability that are making a real measurable impact on student readiness. So I wanted to share a few with you, and I just also wanted to caveat no affiliation with SpringPod at all, just some great edtech brands that I've seen doing some great things. So just wanted to share the inspiration. So we've got Estendio. Their strapline is a world where inclusivity is the standard, not the exception. So their product, Talo, I think it's pronounced, is designed to make careers content more accessible for neurodivergent students. So it basically adapts how information is delivered, not just what's delivered, it's how it is, which we know is a key barrier when confidence or processing differences are at play. And their second product is PresentPal, which helps students build communication and confidence and manage presentation anxiety, which is that's not something that just helps them in that moment and preparing in the classroom, but can also help them with interviews, assessment centres, and working in the world of work as well. We've got Glean, so their tagline, empowering learners of all abilities. So supposedly the number one note-taking study tool supporting independent learning online, offline, on any device. Designed for students with additional learning needs. It helps them take structured, distraction-free notes and manage their own learning. And yeah, for many of the students, when I was looking at their case studies, it's the first time that they've felt in control of how they actually engage with information. So pretty nice bit of a case study there, testimonial for them. And then finally, a bit of a different end of the spectrum. You've got IBM Skills Build, so it offers free credentialed learning to underserved groups in areas like AI, cybersecurity, and digital marketing. So it's not just giving students skills, but it's also giving them evidence of those skills that employers can recognise. And of course, I wouldn't be doing an EdTech presentation if I didn't talk about the proud part that we're playing in this as well. So not only is the concept of virtual work experience programs giving employers globally scalable and measurable career education, but we've also been innovating in new ways to help with that engagement factor. So we've been building 3D worlds, as you can see here, the Skills for Rhode Island's Future pilot, which lets students explore careers in an immersive, gamified way. There's interactive tasks, real world learning built in. We also worked with Viasat on a very similar immersive 3D world where students could interact and then actually at the end of it get a certificate for completion. So I guess what all of these tools have in common is that they meet young people where they are and in ways that are scalable, inclusive, and confidence building. So just before I move on, I just wanted to caveat that obviously not everything can be solved by Shiny Tech. It's not all just about Shiny Tech as well. It's about using innovation to build access and trust, and especially from those who are the furthest away from traditional support and have trouble getting access to it. This is tech can really bridge that gap. So looking ahead, what's next for Readiness innovation? So far we've looked at platforms like Extendio and Glean and IBM Skills Build, and of course the immersive programs that I just showed from SpringPod. And these are actively addressing some of the most urgent barriers to readiness. So whether it's improving accessibility for neurodivergent learners or building confidence through communication tools, or even with the IBM skills, like developing those practical hard skills through credentialed pathways. Each of these examples are giving us a glimpse into what works when technology can meet that real world need. But we do know that it can't do everything and we don't already have all the answers as well. So at SpringPod, we have been investing in building 2 new experiences for students designed to tackle these challenges head on. So based on everything we've learned from our students, from our surveys, but also we have a lot of students on our platform, so we constantly ask for feedback, but also by really digging deep with our partners and also government and communities around the country, we've been building these features around what we believe is something really exciting. So the first is our career readiness skills content, which is a practical toolkit of bite-sized resources designed to build self-awareness, workplace knowledge, and soft skills that is in a format that's accessible and also engaging for students. And then the second one is the Career Coach, which is an AI-powered interview simulator. It doesn't just role play with the student, but it gives tailored reflective feedback to help students improve over time. These both are there to build real confidence in how the student can communicate their value. And that's all from the feedback that we've had from partners that students are really struggling with and going into the world of work. So we are not about building in a vacuum. These are both in active development at the moment. And so we'd love feedback from you guys on the call, whether it's on the fly live when we're showing you in just a second, or a follow-up after the session. But yeah, we really want to make sure these enhancements reflect what people actually need. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand over to Kurt, who's going to walk you through what's coming and how it's been shaped from a product perspective. And I think, Kurt, if you are there, I'm going to drive the first few slides before you demo. if that's right.
Thanks a lot, Daisy. Nice to meet you guys. Really happy to be here and show you what we've been working on. So before I dive in, I'm just going to add a little bit more context. So the problem that we're trying to solve with these new features, as Daisy said at the beginning, we've reached 1 million learners through our online virtual work experience and subject spotlights. And what we're hearing is that we've really helped these young people in their exploration, decision-making journey, identifying what steps they want to take when they leave school. What we're trying to do now is help them and support them in the next step. So what happens next? They complete the virtual experience, they get their certificate. How can we support these young people further? And how can we support our partners in nurturing the diverse audience of students they've attracted through SpringPod into a diverse, engaged early careers talent pool or pipeline? So that's what we're looking at, and this has led us to the career readiness product that we're working on. So what we're doing is focusing on 10 really key core soft skills that are applicable across every industry. So we've whittled this down from what was the original list of about 50. So we've sourced these from like job ad data, a lot of conversations with partners, and where we think we can create really compelling learning content around these 10 skills. So as you can see, examples like communication, leadership, stuff that is going to be key regardless of what vocation a young person wants to pursue. Okay, you can move on, Daisy, please. So the structure of career readiness, structure of the learning journey for the student is, first of all, we will introduce the soft skills. So what is communication? Why is it important? How might this be applied in the real world? Just to set almost the big picture context of why is this skill so important? Why do you need to be effective in communication as you enter the workforce in the next stage of your life? The how is the more in-depth learning content. So here we will introduce communication in practice in industry. So it might be that we have an activity related to communication in aerospace engineering. So adding a level of customization based on industry. The final stage there, and this is presented as a linear journey, it's not necessarily linear here, is the interview assessment simulator. So this one is completely personalized. So first of all, to the student. So we will read from their SpringPod profile, so we can identify, okay, so what has this student done before? Like, what virtual experiences have they completed? What do they have in their bio? So does this student have a part-time job? What are they interested in? What next steps do they want to take? Really building a picture of who this person is really and simulating what it will be like when they apply for their first real job. The simulation is also tailored to the particular employer and job role. So I'll show you this in practice in a second, but the interview would be for like an apprentice web developer at Amazon, and the question will be focused on the student and their experience and trying to coach the student to draw on that experience and apply that to these 10 career readiness skills. Okay, so next we're going to show you an example of the first stage there, which is the overview video content.
Okay, it starts pretty quickly, so I will click now.
It's not about how smart you are. It's about how you connect with other people, understanding what you're feeling and why, and recognizing what someone else is feeling and why, then being able to manage those emotions. EI is made up of empathy, communication, self-awareness, self-regulation, and motivation. So here are 5 things you can do straight away so you can instantly become more emotionally intelligent. 1, the next time you feel happy, stressed, anything, just ask yourself, what made you feel like that? What was the trigger? It sounds simple, but just asking yourself that question makes you self-aware. 2, a really good way to recognize how someone else is feeling is simply by looking at their body language or their tone of voice. Crossed arms tell you that they're probably disinterested or unhappy. Then you know to ask them if something's wrong or if they could just do with your help. 3, when someone's talking to you, really listen to what they're saying. Make sure that you're making eye contact and reacting to the conversation. And here's the big one. Ask them clarifying questions about what they just said. Don't just start responding straight away with stuff about yourself. Ask them about what they just told you. 4, if you're in a good mood, you're approachable. Even in challenging situations, focus on solutions rather than the problems. So instead of going, why did this happen in the first place? Now's the time to be asking, what can we do to fix it? And not only that, but you've really got to try and understand other people's perspectives. 5, when a colleague or a manager gives you feedback, don't take it personally. If you really want to impress them, write down the feedback they're giving you as they're giving it to you and ask them clarifying questions to show to them that you care about what they have to say and that you're serious about improving.
Love it. Thanks, Daisy. So as you can see, some really nice, high quality, age appropriate content to introduce the context of emotional challenges in this case. So the learner will engage with that content. They will then start to develop their skills of emotional intelligence. There will be related activities, and then we are able to dive into the next stage, which is where they put learning into practice. Cool. Okay. So we can now introduce the AI simulator. So as I said, I've already pretty much introduced this, so I think I can take over, Daisy.
Unpracticed this, guys, so bear with us. Can you share?
I can share, and I can share audio. Amazing. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, looks like it's worked. Looking good.
It's a good sign, guys. It's a good sign. Excellent. So just to clarify again, as Daisy said, this is a work in progress. We're still refining this, and absolutely would love to get feedback. And if anyone wants to support us with a pilot, support us in development of this product, be super keen to talk about that. So in the demo version here, I'm going to just manually set the context of the interview. So in this case, I will say it's an apprentice web developer role at Amazon. When the students engage with this will all be automatic and built into their user journey. But for the demo, let's go with this. So first step here, we've talked a lot about confidence. And one of the pieces of feedback we get consistently is that when young people are coming to these early careers interviews, they generally just don't know how to act. They're not self-aware of how a professional body language is. So we've introduced this sort of simple little prompt into this start screen that is actually analysing my facial expressions through the webcam. So if I look directly into the camera and smile, it starts to go up. Whereas if I look a little bit disinterested and look away, those are going right down. So we don't store this video, we don't process this data in any way. This is just a prompt for the young person when they're getting ready to go into the interview. Am I coming across positive and attentive? So I will hit start and we'll dive straight into the personalised interview questions.
Hello, Kurt. I'm your SpringPod AI interview coach. I'm here to help you get ready for your first job interviews by giving you a chance to practice in a safe, judgment-free space. I'll ask you a few role-related questions and give you feedback based on how you do, so don't worry if it's not perfect. Ready to give it a go?
Yes.
Great. I see that you're interested in the apprentice web developer position at Amazon. Your background in computer science and your passion for solving problems and building things will serve you well in this role. Let's dive into some questions to help you showcase your skills and experiences. Remember to use the STAR method when answering. Here we go. Can you describe a time when you had to communicate a technical idea or concept to someone who didn't have a technical background? What was the situation, and how did you ensure they understood?
Yeah, that's a really tough question. I guess when I did the coding challenge, I tried to explain that to my parents. They don't really have a technical background, so what I did was I explained the challenge, the process that my team went through to complete it, and why it was successful, and we completed that successfully. I got a certificate at the end.
Thank you for sharing that, Kurt. It sounds like you had a meaningful experience explaining your coding challenge to your parents. To help strengthen your response, let's break it down a bit more using the STAR method. 1. Situation. You mentioned explaining a coding challenge.
Okay, guys, you get the idea. So what would happen there is the AI interview person that you just see in the avatar would ask me 10 questions, one for each of those career readiness skills. So the first one there was communication, applied to the context of me and my experience. And if we had a bit more time, we could have went through a bit more like clarification there. So if I didn't have a clue on that answer, the interview will prompt me potentially with some examples from my profile. But the really key aspect of this and what we're still working on at the moment is the results and the feedback. What we want to be able to do is to give the student access to this simulation at the beginning of the career readiness learning to sort of benchmark where they are, take them through that learning content and drive that progression in the career readiness skills and their confidence, and demonstrate that they've gone from maybe an overall 20% career ready to being 100% confident, career ready young person. So to do that, obviously we have to provide really strong, robust feedback. Yes, as I said, still a work in progress, guys. We're validating this, had a lot of really positive feedback so far, and very, very excited about where this could go.
Thank you,
Okay.
Kurt. I'm going to take back over. Let me know, guys, when you can re-see my screen.
Yeah, all good, Daisy, all good.
Lovely. So don't worry, guys, we're almost there. Hopefully, everyone's as excited as we are with the content that Kurt just shared. A bit more later about how you can get involved in feedback on our new developments. But for now, just to bring us back to the content, let's zoom back out. Everything that we've discussed today, so the data, the tools, what you've just seen from Kurt, all these point to the same conclusion that the readiness gap is real, but it is solvable in a lot of ways. We've got students thinking about their future much earlier than ever, but a lot of them without access to structured advice, role models, or practical experiences. Their potential is going to stay untapped unless we solve that. So this isn't just an education challenge, it's a social mobility challenge, and we've now got tools, both human and digital, that can help close that gap. What do we do with, I guess, everything that we've seen and heard here today, as well as I know I had a quick look in the chat, and there's a lot of people in this space working with these young people as well every day. And so, yeah, this is not an exhaustive list, but very excited about some of the learnings we've got in our reports, which I'll share with you guys later. But just a few, I guess, high level, what you can do is takeaways. So first of all, what we need to do, readiness starts well before year 11. I think probably most education professionals know that already, but by the time a student is 16, they've often already disengaged or discounted a pathway that could have been a great fit for them purely because they didn't have the exposure. Second, no single intervention is enough. So what we've learned through our work, everything that Joe does, as well as what we do with our partners, and the research that we do, is that the most effective strategies to tackling this are layering confidence, content, and connection. Again, so that's kind of harping back to what we said at the beginning, what readiness is. It's offering confidence, clarity, and opportunity, that formula for readiness. So it's not just about what students know, it's about how they feel and who's walking alongside them. Thirdly, there isn't a silver bullet. We've seen some examples of some good tech, but inclusive pathways that blend digital tools and real-world touch points showing the strongest impact, especially with those under-resourced, underrepresented communities. And finally, don't just run the programme or the initiative, or don't just use the tech. The more that we use frameworks like social return on investment, which I'll touch on very quickly, the stronger that our collective evidence base becomes. So the easier it is to get buy-in, secure funding, and have long-term sustainability for these types of initiatives. Again, I was going to do a poll here, so if you can rustle it up while I just.
I will do. Yeah.
Right, so I was going to ask a quick show of hands. Are you currently measuring the impact of your outreach or your early careers programs or your social impact initiative? So I was going to say yes with a formal framework, yes, but it's anecdotal or internal, not yet, but we want to, or no, and it's not a priority at the moment. They were my, if you can do something around that.
I'll try that, yeah. So it was a yes. Yes with measures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes with anecdotal or internal, not yet, but we want to, and no, and it's not a current priority.
Yeah.
While that's building in the background, let's have a look. I know I mentioned a big number right at the beginning of the report, that 98 million in social return on investment that we've calculated. So I wanted to have a look at this alongside you. So what's the return on getting readiness right? So we spoke about the importance of not just doing a good job, but being able to measure the impact. And that's exactly what this report that we built sets out to do. So we worked with Just Impact and we analysed the real world outcomes of SpringPod programmes. So from confidence and skills development all the way through to progression into education or employment. So the total number the total value that we got to, alongside some very conservative assumptions that we had to make, over 98 million in social impact. And that's not projected, that's based on the learner reported outcomes. And then we mapped that, as I said, to a robust and open source methodology. There is assumptions in there, but it is open source, and so we do encourage people to go in to have a look at it, really interrogate it, give us the feedback as well, because this is something that we are building for scale and for everyone to be able to use and apply. What's especially important that we got from the report, though, is that confidence emerged as the single biggest driver of value. And that's, I guess, confidence to make a decision, apply for something, or even just the confidence that a student has to raise a hand in class. So we talk about skills quite a lot, but confidence is that fuel that is getting the students and the young people to actually act. So I think I asked it earlier on, what does everyone think is the biggest barrier? And from our research, we established that it's that confidence piece. So if you're in a social impact or a CSR or an outreach role, I know there's a big mix of people here. This really is a benchmarking opportunity as well as a measurement one. So as I mentioned, it's an open source methodology. The resources are coming shortly. And we're also hosting a free webinar to talk through in detail how we did it, the findings by the people that designed the calculation as well, and then also exploring how other people can apply it to their own programs or initiatives. So as I mentioned, the report is available now. I've got 2 want to learn moresies. Save the date. So the live webinar is taking place on the 7th of May, 4:30 p.m. When this is circulated as a presentation, you'll be able to register by clicking on the link just there. We also are really excited to ask and invite people to a real life event in person at Impact Amplified Lunch and Learn, taking place on May 21st in London in the Vincent Rooms, which is the training college at Capital City College, where students make the food, serve the food, and create an experience for everyone involved. So we're really excited to be partnering with Capital City Colleges on that one, and open invite. I'll be circulating that when it opens. Please reach out if you're interested. And finally, a bit more about the report. So the 2 reports that I've pulled all this data from, they'll be released in the next couple of weeks. The ROI of opportunity, which is that SROI report, is available now. You'll be able to grab the link when you get the deck. And if you did want to keep the conversation going in any capacity, Jack and John are our partnership experts. Talk to us, reach out. They're always happy to hear from you. Final thought, really, just I guess depending on who's in the room, but when we talk about talent pipelines, you know, moving on from that, it's beyond those pipelines, it's building platforms. So if we get this right, we're not just building those pipelines for future, we're building platforms, and these platforms are there to lift young people over those barriers that shouldn't be there in the first place, but are. So yeah, we're really excited to share all this content with you, and open to Q&A.
Thank you.
Helpers on the team that can help as well, hopefully.
Daisy, thank you. Just before we pause for questions, so questions will do a raise your hand feature, and we definitely want to use these last 5 to 10 minutes for questions, so please do bring them in. But just a response to your poll, so people are measuring, which is good. I don't know if they just want a gold star. There's no one to put no, but 15 people have said yes. So more people are measuring, and they are properly measuring with strict measures in place, and some people are just doing it anecdotally. We've got a few people pop in the chat as well. So thank you for Lee from Northern College. Anyone that we've popped today, we will have a sift through, and we'll do those emails as well. So there's definitely a couple of people there. Apologies if I've missed anyone off. I've got to raise your hand straight away. I can only see your initials at the minute. Is it John?
John.
I'm going to go to John. Go for it, John.
Yeah, hello. I'm John. I'm from Gateway Qualifications. We're an awarding organisation. So we make qualifications essentially, and I think that are funded, and that's the key thing. So I wanted to ask the question: have you looked at getting this funded, regulated? So in terms of when you get a certificate, have you actually looked at actually getting it funded?
Kurt,
that's a pass.
So in terms of certification, we self-issue our certificates at the moment, and that's still the plan for career readiness. It's something we've explored in the past, definitely something we're open to for a discussion to add credibility. The way we've handled this previously is generally our programs and experiences are sponsored by an employer partner. So we would almost joint issue the credential branded with SpringPod, branded with the partner, and that has provided enough credibility so far. But definitely looking to the next step, looking to enhance, there's definitely potentially value in full accreditation.
Exactly. I think Lee's just mentioned there the tailored learn, because the education space is a very complex one in the funding angle, as we all know. I think just what you've got there is programs that this can overlay, and actually you can gain accreditation and public funding for it as well as the other side. So it'd be good to take it out here and just map it, because I think a mapping exercise, you could actually gain public funding for this course, which again could add huge value. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely would like to have a chat about that.
Real, thank you. And I wish that AI chatbot was available for me yesterday, because I was trying to tailor my 17-year-old son for his first job interview as a glass collector at Wetherspoons, and it would have done a lot better job than me. So yeah, I need those services for my household. Any more questions? I mean, I'm keen to know. So we spoke quite a lot about the readiness gap, which we're really keen to address as a collective. But what more can businesses do to kind of support you guys with that, and how can you support them vice versa? What kind of services do you offer for businesses that want to work on social mobility and working with young kids?
Yeah, so I guess there's probably a few of us on the team that could answer this question. If I take it from a sort of like a high level, so we, as I mentioned right at the beginning, we deliver these career education experiences in sort of like 3 high level buckets. So we have our virtual work experiences, our subject spotlights, and then our upcoming career readiness experiences as well. So subject spotlights is focused more at the higher education market. So it's how universities can attract more students to various different courses and give them the knowledge of what being at university and studying a specific course could lead to and also be like. And then our virtual work experiences are those immersive simulations of jobs whereby there's sort of like multi multifaceted gamification methods in there that help engage students and understand various different job roles. So I don't know if Jack's on the call and wants to add any more clarity to that, if he's managed to stay on, or whether that was...
Hi Daisy. Hi everyone, nice to meet you all. Yeah,
Hi,
I'm
Jack.
still on the call. Hi guys. Yeah, nothing really to add to that, I guess. Yeah, really top of the funnel virtual work experience programs to reach young people and showcase what it's like to work as an employer, and reach those that they may not be reaching with other methods, and essentially help with any challenges they might have to offer in person. And then all those great social mobility stats that Daisy mentioned earlier. So really helping students take that next step towards career readiness and ultimately employment.
And Joe's got a hand up as well. I thought that everyone might want to come into this one. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, so I'm a careers advisor by trade, but there has been a lot of developments lately, which is really encouraging in terms of schools and colleges having a more flexible approach to employer encounters. So I am seeing increasingly schools and colleges asking me about virtual experiences, just that and a lot of them will be taking almost like a hybrid approach to experiences of the workplace. So as I say, the updated Gatsby benchmarks, you can now complete obviously some of the T-level virtual. So I think you'll just find that schools and colleges are much more open to kind of that variety of sort of multi-experience approach at different points during a student's career, starting as early as year 7 and going upwards.
Thank you, Joe. We've got time, probably maybe 1, maybe 2 more questions. If anyone's got anything burning that they want to ask, please do. I know we probably have people like Lorenzo who's got to shoot for the 2 o'clock meetings, so we've took every minute of this one. We've really wrung the sponge driving this one, which is great. I'm gonna ask a quick question for Anne, our wonderful Anne, our chair here. Who is Anne? How did you know you wanted to go into the career you went into? Who inspired you at kind of 15, 16?
It was a very long time ago, Paul.
I'm not naming any dates or time periods.
The thing is that, if you were brought up in the southeast, middle class girl, you became a nurse, became a teacher, or became an executive CA. So there wasn't the choice. But if I think of the people that I was at school with, so people who maybe weren't expected to get very good exam qualifications, went and worked in a bank. There were a lot more jobs available, I think. It's what I call entry-level jobs. The hospitality, not much so. I lived near Gatwick Airport. Gatwick Airport was always a good employer. But I think when I was at school, and I think it's true now, that there isn't the inspiration. I think one of the difficulties for young people now is that they feel it's all a bit hopeless. And there wasn't the pressure when I was at school to get exams because there were so many entry-level jobs. I think that market is very much more difficult now. So gaining the sort of skills that are on offer is really, really important. I think if I think of all the jobs I've done since then, particularly my role as education minister, the most important thing is enthusiasm. And it doesn't matter where you start, any job will do because you've gained so much from working. Yeah,
no, thank you. And I know John is not here today. He's probably off skiing or something. I always give him a little bit of banter about how many holidays he has, but yeah, John's probably off summer skiing, but we'll get John to the next face-to-face as well. So, and we'll make sure SpringPod are part of our carousel. So please do continue the conversation with SpringPod. We'll have a sift through the chat now over the next 10 minutes, go and get the kettle on, and we'll make sure, like I said, those email introductions are continued as well. But we'll close now, and thank you ever so much, Daisy, Kurt, and all your wonderful colleagues at SpringPod for sharing that with us. Again, I think that's great insight for us as a group, and we can do more to support with this. But thank you ever so much. Thank you everyone for giving up your hour to come in and join us today.